All right, well, good morning and excuse me, Happy New Year. Seems like we haven't talked in forever, so now we're back and we're certainly going to be busy. So sit at 7-4 overall, finished 5th place at Jewel. Center was our opening round game. They kicked us pretty good. Came back the next morning, short turnaround. Luckily, we were able to return the favor to East, and so we were at 1-1, and then had our third game against Winnetonka, able to win that 58-51. So to go 2-1 in the tournament was nice. Obviously, we came in wanting to go 3-0, but circumstances of the way we played the first game didn't allow us to do that. So we had some time off, was able to give the guys a couple days off. Then we came back and played Topeka Hayden on Saturday. Hayden beat us 62-51. It was a funny game because we couldn't get anything going offensively. So we were pretty solid, and then defensively, but ball wouldn't go in the hoop. Part of it had to do with the way we passed and shared it, which we didn't do a lot of that. So we got to get back to making sure that the ball's moving. Teams got to guard us when shots aren't going in. But now, after that, we don't play again until this Friday. And once we do, we play Park Hill South. And so Park Hill South is in our conference. Our conference season is going to get going. And of the 6 teams in our conference, 5 of them are ranked in the top 25 in the city, according to one of the local polls. So we will have our work cut out for us every single night in our league. And we know that, and we're excited for it because we know we'll be tested. As far as individual performances go, we're really balanced. We've got guys sharing the load. Our experienced guys that have played a lot of varsity minutes are starting to get more comfortable, and then the newer guys, we're trying to help them have some confidence to find their roles and give them some confidence so they can play to their strengths. But the season gets pretty hot and heavy from here on out, and so we're excited about the opportunities that we have coming up. So with that, open it up to you all for questions.
Right. Earlier in the season, you guys had a very successful start, but momentum seemed to slow down a bit. How do you plan on getting the team back into that kind of form it was back in December for these heavy conference loads?
Yeah, so it's a good observation, and there's a couple parts of it. Number one is our schedule. I think our schedule is really difficult, and so playing the teams that we're playing is putting us in a position where, if you're not really, really good every night, your result isn't going to be very good. The thing that I'm more concerned about is the way we play. So regardless of result, there's a certain way that we could play that gives us an opportunity to win, and we've been inconsistent in that realm. Now, is that because of the way that our schedule balances and that we, play 3 games in 4 days and then we're off for a week and then we play a game and we're off for a week? I don't know. I will know that after the next 2 or 3 weeks, because now we're going to get into a pretty good rhythm as far as playing games goes. But I'll rely on my players just to make sure that they they feel good about what's going on. They feel like they still got a lot of season left and a lot of things to work towards. So it's a good question and observation, and hopefully the momentum or rhythm will pick up here in the next couple weeks.
This season, what goals have you specifically set for yourself as a coach?
Well, as far as putting them down on paper and making sure that I, do them, I haven't done anything specifically, but thinking about this team, I'm really focused on making sure that this team, matures in a way that they can have success on the floor. They're inexperienced. We lost, the 8 seniors and guys that had played and contributed in such big ways that I knew I had good players, but the experience of them and the way that they fit into a team was something that was going to take some time. And so balancing their maturity with the need to perform really well is something that I've been conscious of. And then the other thing is just our toughness, making sure that our skill, which we have some skill, isn't the sole thing that we rely on to have success, and that we play with a certain grit and toughness to us that gives us a chance. And these guys to the second point, have, and I've been very pleased with them and their toughness. Now we'll just try to improve our execution a little bit more, and then I think the results will start to follow.
Do you have any comments on the increasing student section comment restrictions for the viewers?
Ask me again.
Oh, just like how there's been, I don't know, hoopla, for lack of a better word, with students wanting less restrictions on the chance. Do you just have any comments on that? How it affects your team or you as a coach, or just the morale overall?
So generally, no. I mean, I don't really have a specific comment to it because I don't know the specifics of it. So if I knew more specifically, I'd probably be able to answer it. But as far as our crowd goes, there's no mistaking what kind of an advantage that they give us. We are going to play in our conference on these Friday night games in front of 1,800 people. 2,000 folks are going to be packed in that gym, and there's nothing that gives our players the energy like our students do, like the student section does. The energy that they give our guys is something that you don't find in every gym across Kansas City. So I know how appreciative I am of everyone who shows up and who contributes that energy to our team.
You were talking about earlier the tough loss at the beginning of the William Jewell tournament.
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to rally your team to come back and win the next two games?
Well, they deserve the credit. I didn't do anything, because if I rallied them, then I sure got them beat the first game, Garrett. I told them after the game, the first game against Center, when they kicked us pretty good, I said, well, the good news is that game's over and nobody got hurt. Because we were really bad, they were really good, and that's how you get beat by 30. The challenge to them was just make sure that's not who we are. Come ready to play, be better, focus on being the best you can at the possession that you can control, and they did. So, you got kind of your outliers, and I think that those two games served as the opposite ends of outliers. So we've played now 185 games at North. The loss to Center was the second worst loss we ever had. The win versus East the next morning was the biggest win we ever had. So in two games out of 185, you have three of your greatest margins ever. So I don't think that I deserve much credit for the way the guys bounce back. I think they do, because it's not easy to do it, but they certainly did.
You talked about this team's overall kind of inexperience earlier, how it's such a young team. How is the senior class putting their work in to help their teammates mature and really get into the depth of the team?
Yeah, so great observation, because you're usually only as good as your experienced players are. And the fact that we didn't have many experienced players is why we had so many question marks going in. Specifically to your point about the seniors, though, these seniors that we've got are incredibly diligent workers. So if the gym is open, they're going to be in it. If the gym's not open, they're going to find a way in it. And they are just going to work and work and work. That has had an impact on the rest of the guys, too. And even though they feel like the season's been going on for a while, there's still a lot left. So that time that they're putting in is going to pay dividends as we go. The way those seniors are working is trickling down through the rest of the group. And so maybe not as verbal as other senior groups that I've had, but certainly leading by example.
You mentioned earlier that you're going to have a lot of tough conference games. So do you guys prepare differently for your conference games? Like you have your first one on Friday. So do you guys prepare differently?
So not in a way that our players would see. Our players won't see a difference because all the stuff that's going on is going on behind the scenes with our coaches. So for instance, we've had coaches working on our conference opponents since the season started. So they've been working on cutting up film. They've been working on, getting statistical information on teams, and so they've got a pretty good idea. So they can monitor the teams throughout the year, so they're designated opponents to prepare for. So they've been doing that. So there won't be anything that our players will notice different. But internally, from a staff perspective, we've got, well, I don't know if intel's the right word, but we've got information on all the teams that what we have to do is get that information, package it up, and make sure it gets delivered in a way that our players understand and can execute. So we won't place any more emphasis, say, on one game than the other in conference. I don't think that's right, because if you do, then your team kind of fluctuates. So we'll give them a pretty standard approach for how those games come, but knowing full well how hard the games are going to be once they get started.
What area of improvement are you looking for your team to improve on entering conference play?
I think it's areas of improvement. So we have comparison stats of you can pull our wins and you can pull our losses, and you look at maybe what's different between the two, and we have a stark contrast in our wins, how we shoot the ball, how we perform, and our losses, how we shoot the ball. We give up a lot more points and losses. So what we have to do to improve is we have to play at a more consistent level. So the areas to do that are, shot selection, ball movement, defensively, how are we guarding teams? We're giving up 42.1% defensive field goal percentage, which is the highest since the first year. Part of that has to do with the strength of the opponents that we're playing. But we will have multiple areas that we look to improve on, and probably have a much better idea really in 2 weeks when I talk to you. I'll have a little bit more info next week when I talk, but in 2 weeks I'll have a much better idea about kind of where we're at. So with that, I'll close. Appreciate everybody making it in. It's goofy to talk about the season because it feels so segmented at this point. Now, once next week gets going, we'll have kind of a rhythm to us. You guys will be able to see us a lot more. You'll be able to you'll probably probe a little bit more and ask some more questions after you see the guys play. So I certainly appreciate your interest in your questions. Hope you have a good Tuesday, and we'll see you back here next week.